Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 6 Part 29 based on novel. So let's start. The bonfire leapt and rose within the forest, but the dancing flame did not seem to give off any warmth at all. Instead, threads of a dark and cold evil aura lingered over the forest. The aura that seeped from the strange black figure was quite unusual. It was a little similar to killing intent but even shadier. Moreover, it was filled with an aura of death and there did not seem to be even the slightest bit of life energy within it. However, in the face of such a strange scene, Tsuru and Sukue acted as if they were about to meet a formidable foe. They could feel an extremely dangerous ripple from the black ghost-like figure, a ripple that likely surpassed even Foam Kang. Moreover, from Little Martin's previous words, it seemed that they had long since held a grudge with the faction that this black ghost-like figure belonged to. Hence, it was not overly strange for them to be targeted by the latter. Sukue gave a look to Tsuru and the latter gently nodded in response, now prepared to remove to seal at any time to release the vast strength within her body. After the battle that day, her originally delicate and weak character had quietly changed significantly. Currently, Lindong and Little Flame were recuperating and could not afford to be disturbed. Their main fighting strength now was Little Martin and Tsuru. Although the opponent before them seemed to be alone at this moment, they did not dare to relax at all. Death Spirit General? This aura is indeed a little unusual and gives a similar feeling to the mysterious life and death stage. But I am not sure that this is merely a deception on the surface. I heard that some unorthodox groups would stay in the Death Chi-rich cemetery and train all year round. Their bodies suffer from the erosion of Death Chi, causing their Yuan power to change. However, they will lose some of their lifespan as compensation. Looks like you belong to this group. Little Martin's eyes slowly swept across the black figure before suddenly laughing. He did not think that this man before them was able to reach the death stage of the mysterious life and death stage. The latter's aura might be a little stronger when compared to Foam Kang, but it was still much weaker when compared with to the mysterious life and death stage. You know quite a bit. However, the more you know, the faster you will die. The pupils within the dark and cold eyes of the black figure shrunk for a moment. Clearly, he was surprised that Little Martin actually understood his cultivation method. You are greatly lacking in qualification to say such words. If you wish to keep your little life, you should just get lost before I attack. Little Martin raised his eyelids and waved his hand, appearing as though he was chasing away an irritating housefly. I was sitting in the mountains and watching a rare fun show. Now that your group is already injured, you still dare to display such an attitude. The black figure coldly laughed. Little Martin's eyes slowly darkened. After which, he directly stood up from the boulder as his apathetic voice sounded out, "In that case, there is no need for you to leave." Such arrogant words? That black figure, who called himself the Death Spirit General, suddenly let loose a malicious laughter. Threads of black energy swam around him, giving off a gloomy and cold feeling. Do not leave Lindong's and Little Flame's side. Little Martin glanced at Tsuru and Sukue as he softly said. Understood. Tsuru and Sukue earnestly nodded. The group's fighting strength was currently at the lowest point due to Lindong's and Little Flame's injuries. No matter what, they needed to protect both Lindong and Little Flame. Given their recovery speed, these two would regain their ability to fight soon. At that time, they would no longer need to worry about this elusive fellow. With just the two of them, I'm afraid that it won't be enough. The Death Spirit General released a strange laughter. His eyes suddenly turned dark and cold as he extended his 5 fingers. With a flick, 5 black lights that contained Death Chi rushed towards Little Martin. Sizzle sizzle. Even the air itself appeared to be violently eroded as the black light swept past and 5 scars directly appeared on the ground. Clearly, the Yuan power of this Death Spirit General was much stronger than ordinary Yuan power. You are still a little too inexperienced to play such tricks before me. Little Martin's figure burst forward. His fist clenched as a frightening wind gathered together, forming a seemingly invisible large hand that crushed the 5 black lights. Swoosh! Like a ghost, little Martin's figure swiftly appeared above the Death Spirit General as the 5 black lights exploded. As his palm slapped downwards, a monstrous purplish-black energy swept out, directly transformed into a mountain-like palm that mercilessly swatted at the Death Spirit General. In the face of its terrifying power, the ground instantly collapsed. That frightening pressure that filled the area caused the Death Spirit General's expression to change a little. Boom! In the face of such power, the originally crumbling ground was directly blasted apart, while the Death Spirit General's body also exploded. Is he dead? Suru and Sukue were stunned when they saw this. However, under their startled gazes, little Martin's eyes grew cold as he swung his palm down. He jabbed his finger outwards as purplish black light transformed into a spiraling whirlwind at the tip of his finger. Like lightning, it rushed towards a certain spot on his right. TCH. A muffled sound was emitted when the purplish black light spiraled through the air and violently smashed into a shadow, causing a black figure to sourly shoot out. You actually have the face to display this little trick of yours in front of me? When Grandpa Martin was roaming around the lands, you did not even existed in this world. Little Martin coldly laughed as he watched the black figure shoot out. This fellow's techniques could be considered unique. Anyone else would be caught off guard. However, this was rather childish from this cunning Martin's point of view. The Death Spirit General rapidly thrust the tips of his feet in the air before finally stabilizing his somewhat miserable figure. His eyes immediately became much darker and colder as he stared unblinkingly at little Martin. He did not say anything unnecessary and changed his seal technique as a surging black glow erupted from his body. Yama's Ghost Curtain. The black glow smelled of death chi as it swiftly spread out over the forest. In the end, it enveloped little Martin at a shocking speed. One could vaguely see numerous ghostly shadows flashing within the black curtain, causing it to appear extremely sinister. These ghost shadows were extremely evil and unique. Once they appeared, they frantically attempted to corrode little Martin's body. However, each time these ghostly figures tried to corrode little Martin's body, they would be bounced back by a purplish black light. Liu Cheng, Hu Jiao, why aren't you attacking? Upon seeing that his technique did not have much effect on little Martin, an alarmed expression finally flashed across the Death Spirit General's face. After which, he let out a low and deep cry. Swoosh! 2 black figures rushed out from the dark and quiet forest as his cry faded. They ignored little Martin, who was temporarily being held back by the Death Spirit General. Instead, their vast and mighty yuan power surged, transforming into a large hand that violently grabbed towards the recuperating Lindong and Little Flame. Sukue had been maintaining his vigilance. Hence, he did not panic despite feeling a little shocked when the 2 black figures suddenly appeared. The yuan power within his body whizzed out as he hurriedly displayed his martial arts to meet the attack. Get lost! However, there was clearly an immense gap between Sukue and the 2 black figures. His martial arts attack was directly shattered by the 2 fierce large yuan power hands almost immediately after emerging. Big brother, leave it to me. Just as Sukue was being violently jerked backwards in retreat, a delicate hand pressed against his back and pulled him aside. Jade green energy surged out like the churning ocean waves, transforming into a light curtain that stood to their front. Bang! Boom! The large yuan power hands viciously slammed into the light curtain. Violent ripples erupted on the light curtain, but it did not immediately fall apart. Instead, it endured for a while before emitting a cracking sound and bursting apart. Bang! In that short span of time, the black light curtain surrounding little Martin was completely shattered. Little Martin rushed out with a dark and solemn face. His eyes had a terrifying desire to killing surging within it. He suddenly clenched his hand as 5 purplish black light pillar rushed out, transforming into 5 enormous purplish black iron chains. The iron chains rattled, penetrating through the empty space and pierced towards the Death Spirit General's body. However, no fresh blood flowed from the Death Spirit General's body despite the iron chains that penetrated through it, an extremely strange sight. Hehe, my body has long since been eroded by the Death Chi. You will not be able to kill me. The Death Spirit General raised his head and laughed in a sinister manner. A corpse that cannot even be considered half a fool. Yet you really believe that you have cultivated an immortal body. Little Martin laughed coldly. His finger moved as the 5 metal chains that had penetrated the Death Spirit General suddenly rushed out before piercing towards the spot between the latter's eyes at lightning speed. The eyes of the Death Spirit General changed when he saw the target of the chains this time around. His palm danced as dense black light formed into numerous black light curtains in front of him while his body quickly pulled back. Boom, boom, boom. The chains easily destroyed the numerous defenses as if they were rotten bamboo, while the Death Spirit General was now surrounded by danger from all sides, giving him an extremely miserable appearance. Liu Cheng, what are the both of you dawdling for? A loud cry suddenly escaped the Death Spirit General's mouth while he miserably fell back, using all his strength to block little Martin's attack. Kill her! The 2 black figures clearly trembled upon hearing the Death Spirit General's cry. Immediately, killing intent erupted within their eyes and mighty Yuan power swept out. Their strength had actually reached the 4 Yuan Nirvana stage. When the 2 of them unleashed all of their strength, the resulting wild and violent pressure instantly caused Suru's pretty face to change. Clearly, she did not expect that the 2 who had suddenly appeared would actually possess a strength that was not weaker than Feng Kang's group. I will not allow you to disturb Big Brother Lin Dong. Suru clenched her silver teeth as she lifted her sleeves. Blood dripped from her fingertip that was quickly pressed onto the seal on her wrist. Second seal, remove. One could faintly see 3 seals on Suru's wrist. When her finger landed on the second seal, a soft cry along with a surging jade green light wildly swept out from her body. Boom! A majestic jade green energy violently unfurled from within Suru's body like a tidal wave. Its intensity and force did not lose out to Liu Cheng or Hu Jiao. Liu Cheng and Hu Jiao were clearly shocked due to the powerful energy that had suddenly exploded from Suru's body. When the Lin Dong and the rest were battling the Wind Cloud Empire during the day, they had observed Suru's rather substantial strength. However, there was still quite a gap between them and her. Yet, Suru's strength had now swiftly soared right before their eyes and had even caught up to them. As a result, they could not help but be inwardly startled. The majestic power surged as Suru waved her hands. Jade green energy gathered in her hands like an emerald. Containing astonishing undulations within, it clashed head-on against the Liu Cheng duo's palms. Bang! Wild and violent Yuan power erupted almost instantaneously as the withered leaves on the ground exploded into dust before being blown away by that wild and violent force. Suru's delicate body was jolted back by that berserk force, causing her to be forced several steps back. Jade green light rapidly flickered, dispelling the force that had entered her body. The Liu Cheng duo were also forced to take a step back. The 2 of them had joined hands after all, and even though Suru's strength had suddenly soared and reached their level, they still maintained the upper hand. Although this situation was not totally out of their control, the strength that had erupted from Suru still caused the both of them to be greatly startled. Their eyes swiftly looked towards the extremely miserable-looking Death Spirit General a short distance away as their pupils involuntarily shrunk. They clearly understood the latter's strength. It was unexpected that he had ended up in such a miserable state in the hands of that handsome young man. Swiftly settle this. Liu Cheng duo looked at each other and violently nodded after forcefully suppressing the shock within their hearts. They had initially believed that finishing off Lin Dong's group would be easy with the Death Spirit General assisting them. However, no one could have imagined that little Martin, who had never seriously fought, would actually possess such a frightening strength. Now, they had to quickly finish off Suru, otherwise, once Lin Dong and Little Flame withdrew from their deep recuperation state, the situation would immediately be turned around. After having witnessed the fighting strength of Lin Dong and Little Flame, even Liu Cheng and Hu Jiao did not have the confidence to defeat them. Moreover, the Death Spirit General, whom they had originally invited as a helper, was not only unable to serve any purpose but had instead been suppressed by the unfathomable Little Martin to the point of being unable to retaliate. Therefore, they needed to swiftly resolve this situation. Bang! A fierce glint flashed across the Liu Cheng duo's eyes. Without the slightest bit of hesitation, they suddenly stepped forward, extremely well coordinated as they attacked. The powerful pressure of the attack directly enveloped Suru. Death Devil Imprint. Black light spread from the duo's hands, directly transforming into two giant black seals. Under the giant seals were numerous ghost face symbols. Wave after wave of corrosive death chi continuously emitted before mercilessly crashing toward Suru. This black light was extremely strange. Although this deep black death chi was not the true death chi of the mysterious life and death stage, it was extremely difficult to deal with. In fact, it would be extremely troublesome for even a Nirvana stage expert if it seeped into his body. Suru had clearly sensed how troublesome it was to deal with this strange energy. Her pretty face immediately became much more serious. Jade green energy agglomerated on her hand, causing her hand to appear as if it was made of crystal clear emerald. Bang! The emerald hand swiftly cut through the air, rapidly transforming into a dozen handprints that ferociously pounded on the ghost seals. Bang bang! When that emerald-like handprints landed onto the ghost seals, a vast and mighty energy shook the two ghost seals until they began to violently tremble, faintly revealing signs of crumbling apart. Humph! Upon seeing how formidable Suru's attack was and her fearlessness in the face of their corrosive fake death chi, the Liu Cheng duo coldly snorted. A fist viciously landed on the ghost seals. Surging yuan power whizzed out, causing the two death seals to become as heavy as mountains, forcefully blasting apart the numerous emerald palm imprints. This sudden rise in pressure caused perspiration to seep out on Suru's forehead. Although she was currently able to control some of the mysterious strength within her body, she had yet to completely refine it. This flaw might not be obvious when dueling with 3 yuan Nirvana stage experts. However, against genuine 4 yuan Nirvana stage experts like Liu Cheng, especially in a 2-against-1 situation like this, that flaw would immediately be exposed. Nevertheless, despite the surge in pressure, Suru clenched her teeth and refused to withdraw. She could sense the swiftly recovering strengths within Lindong and Little Flame behind her. It was likely that the two of them had vaguely sensed something while in their deep recuperation state. As long as she endured a little longer, Lindong and Little Flame would soon awaken. At that time, there was no longer a need for them to be afraid. Bang bang! While Suru gritted her teeth and withstood the fierce and violent attack of the Liu Cheng duo with all her strength, on the other battleground, Little Martin had forced the Death Spirit General to an unusually miserable state. If it were not for the latter's exceptionally strange body, it was likely that he would have long since been killed by Little Martin. In this extremely one-sided battle, the Death Spirit General finally understood. Little Martin seemed to be even stronger than himself and it was impossible to defeat Little Martin. However, he was able to delay Little Martin and wait for the Liu Cheng duo to succeed. His plan might have been a good one, but Little Martin was also a wily old fox. In the blink of an eye, he understood the Death Spirit General's intention. Immediately, his eyes turned chilly and his attacks became increasingly merciless. However, it must be said that the Death Spirit General was quite strong. It was likely that the latter had already reached the 5 yuan Nirvana stage. Together with these strange techniques of his, he was able to survive under Little Martin's onslaught. This slippery manner of the Death Spirit General caused Little Martin to have the impulse to use the celestial demon Martin body to immediately destroy the Death Spirit General. However, this urge was quickly and forcibly suppressed by him. This was the core zone and there would definitely be experts from the super sects observing this place. If he were to use the strength of the celestial demon Martin's true body, those experts would definitely sense it. He was unaware if there were any super sects that held a hatred towards their celestial demon Martin tribe. Therefore, in order to avoid attracting an even greater amount of trouble, all he could do was to try his best to endure. Let me see just how long you can last. Little Martin's eyes turned frosty as his attacks abruptly reached another level of intensity. This caused the already tremendously pressured Death Spirit General's eyes to reveal a panic expression. He cried out sharply as he dodged in a miserable manner. Liu Cheng, use Thousand Ghost Claw. Nearby, the Liu Cheng duo were steadily forcing Suru back step by step. Upon hearing the Death Spirit General's cry, their expressions suddenly changed as they immediately gritted their teeth, spat out a mouthful of essence blood. At the same time, Black Yuan power whistled out and wrapped around the essence blood at lightning speed as the combination began to wiggle. Howl howl. Wind came gushing down as black light seemed to wiggle. It sounded as if a ghost was screeching. Kill! The black fox squirmed before eventually agglomerating into an enormous black ghost claw. The ghost claw was covered all over with an uncountable number of sinister human faces. Screech after screech was rang out, causing the yuan power in one's body to churn. Immediately after forming, the ghost claw carried a shockingly cold ripple as it tore through the air like lightning. It grabbed at the Suru, who was still bitterly enduring on. In the face of the ghost claw's power, even air itself exploded. As she gazed at this ferocious attack, Suru's face turned deathly pale. However, she still showed no signs of withdrawing. She gritted her teeth, planning to undo the third seal. Based on what little Martin had said, if she used the third seal with her current strength, it would likely end up causing some injuries to her body. However, she was unable to consider so much at such a moment. Suru gently bit into her lip. Her long fingernail landed on the third seal on her wrist. She was just about to undo it when a hand suddenly extended out from behind and grabbed her slender hand. A figure that did not appear strong but gave her an endless amount of security slowly stepped forward. Brother Lindong. Joy surfaced on Suru's pretty face as her gaze fell upon the figure who had walked out from behind her. There is no need to undo the seal. You have already done very well. The figure reached out and rubbed Suru's head as he softly chuckled. After which, he lifted his head to gaze upon the Liu Cheng duo as the corners of his mouth lifted to form a chilling expression. Leave everything else to us. These trashy cowards truly never stop. The countless piercing shrieks from the glowing ghost claws caused one's head to be stricken by waves of dizziness. Evidently, it possessed the unique power of a mental energy attack. Lindong? The expressions of Liu Cheng and his partner changed when that figure appeared in front of Suru. However, it was impossible for them to withdraw at this moment. Their eyes immediately turned chilly as an ominous light flashed onto their faces. Immediately, they clenched their hands before an increasingly darker and colder black light surged out from their palms and poured into the black ghost claws. They had stealthily observed Lindong's strength before, thus it was only natural that they did not dare to underestimate him. Of course, they were not weaker than Feng Kang. Hence, even though they were wary of Lindong's strength, they were not too afraid of him. With the two of them joining hands, they believed that Lindong would only be able to retreat. The color of the already black ghost claws became even deeper with the infusion of the duo's mighty yuan power, and now looked as if they were real. Under those sharp claws, even space itself seemed to be eroded. Lindong raised his head and looked at the foul-smelling ghost claws as they flew towards him. His eyes focused slightly, before he clenched his fist and a black metal seal appeared in his hand. It was the black dragon sky-roaring seal that he had obtained from Feng Kang. While he recuperated, he had also completely mastered this heavenly soul treasure. Currently, this black dragon sky-roaring seal could be considered to truly belong to Lindong. All right, I shall use the both of you to test the might of this heavenly soul treasure. An icy smile flashed across Lindong's eyes. He suddenly clenched his hand and a powerful black glow was emitted from that black metal seal. However, this black light did not contain the slightest darkness or chillness. Instead, it was filled with a kind of special pressure and violence. The black dragon that was curled over the metal seal slowly opened its tightly shut eyes. After which, a black sonic wave, which had once reduced Lindong into an extremely miserable state, suddenly swept out from Lindong's mouth and rushed towards the ghost claws from all directions. Clang, clang, clang. The black sonic wave heavily smashed onto the dark black ghost claws. Waves of metallic sound immediately erupted from it. That sonic wave contained a fearsome sharpness that was potent enough to shred a 3 yuan nirvana stage expert. Moreover, there was an endless amount of it. If one was swept into the ripple, even a 4 yuan nirvana stage expert would end up in an extremely miserable state. Faced with the continuous attack by the black sonic waves, the black ghost claws also began to tremble intensely. Finally, it erupted and formed numerous crack lines when the sparks flew. Bang! The crack lines on the ghost claws, which was formed by both of them, spread with lightning-like speed. Moments later, it directly emitted a bang amidst the shocked eyes of Liu Cheng's team. after which, their ghost claws was directly torn apart by the black sonic wave. Withdraw immediately. The expressions of Liu Cheng's group changed drastically when they saw their ghost claws break apart. Immediately, both of them retreated almost simultaneously. You want to leave? The cold smile in Lin Dong's eyes was even denser. He flicked his finger before 10 black sonic waves curled into a strange arc. They rushed out immediately and appeared in front of the retreating Liu Cheng's duo within an instant. The expressions of Liu Cheng duo became increasingly ugly in the face of the densely cold wind that rushed over. Immediately, they quickly maneuvered the yuan power within their bodies. Bright golden light surged out from within their bodies. Clearly, they had activated their nirvana golden bodies. Sizzle sizzle. The black sonic wave flashed past the bodies of the Liu Cheng duo. Due to its frightening degree of sharpness, it directly cut and left numerous deep bloody scars on their nirvana golden bodies. Immediately, both of them released a sharp screech as they held their wounds and swiftly retreated. The might of the heavenly soul treasure was finally been revealed. Liu Cheng and Hu Jiao were both at the 4 yuan nirvana stage and they were not weaker than Feng Kang's group. If Lin Dong wanted to hurt the two of them with normal means, it was likely that he would have to expend some effort. However, by using his Black Dragon Sky Roaring Seal, he was able to shatter their combined attack on their first exchange and even hurt the two of them. From this, one could tell that this soul treasure was indeed worth tens of millions of nirvana pills. A panic flashed across the eyes of Liu Cheng duo when they saw that they had fell behind and even suffered some injuries after their first exchange. Clearly, they did not expect that the situation would be turned around this quickly. They had been observing Lin Dong's group for quite a while. However, they were worried that they would be discovered by Song Tai if they were to take action in Wanxiang City. That is why they chose to wait until now. However, now that they had acted, they realized that the change in the situation was somewhat beyond their expectations. Let's go. The two of them glanced at one another and they could tell that both of them wanted to retreat. However, before they could do so, an extremely fierce and violent wind suddenly swept down. A dark black rod figure came smashing down like a mountain and ruthlessly smashed their bodies with a shocking momentum. Grug! Liu Cheng and Hu Jiao immediately spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Their bodies flew backwards, uprooting countless enormous trees along the way. The golden light that flickered over their bodies became unusually dim at this moment. That strong figure suddenly fell from the sky. It appeared just like a demon as a fierce and evil aura spread apart. The metal rod in his hand danced and the sound of rushing wind continuously appeared. Since you have come, then don't leave. Some fierceness surged within Little Flame's eyes. A low and deep sound, along with some killing intent, spread over this forest. The expressions of Liu Cheng's group became much paler as they watched this metal seal that was being held in Lin Dong's hand as well as Little Flame, who was holding a metal rod. They immediately cried out in a dark, ruthless manner, "Lin Dong, do you really wish to become enemies with us? Those people backing us are not people some small flies like you could deal with. You had better not rebuff our goodwill or you will end up suffering a worse fate. We are willing to retreat and not find trouble with you. However, you had better not ask for a mile when given an inch." Lin Dong's eyes were indifferent. Circular black light spread from the black seal in his hands. He turned his head and looked at the two of them, only to part his mouth into a smile. Those bright white teeth was permeated with a chillness within the eyes of Liu Cheng's group. "There is no need to retreat. I shall take all of your lives regardless of your background." Lin Dong smiled. The black seal within his hands immediately rushed out. Frighteningly wild and violent ripple rushed out in front of Liu Cheng's panic-filled eyes. The black light spread and an enormous illusionary black dragon slowly appeared. A terrifying pressure quietly spread. The dragon spirit that existed within this Black Dragon Sky Roaring Seal was extremely powerful. Even Lin Dong was forced to use the heavenly dragon aura within his body in order to defeat it. Despite so, he still barely managed to eke out a victory. From this, one could tell just how frightening the might of this dragon spirit was. Each of Liu Cheng's duo in front possessed a strength that could be compared with Feng Kang. Clearly, they were not ordinary people. Therefore, Lin Dong had decisively used such a powerful killing move directly. Lin Dong had quite a great dislike towards these ghost-like fellows. He could not be bothered about their background and he did not care about their evil schemes. However, their illicit actions have angered Lin Dong and caused his killing intent to soar. Lin Dong did not like being targeted by this group of people constantly. Therefore, he decided to get rid of them thoroughly tonight. Roar! The black dragon roared. That majestic black light became just like a black curtain that covered the sky as it swept apart in all directions. An indescribable wild and violent energy permeated within this black curtain. The Liu Cheng's duo were clearly so shocked by Lin Dong's powerful technique until their faces turned pale. They could sense a thick feeling of death from within that illusionary black dragon. At this moment, they finally understood that Lin Dong genuinely wanted to kill them. Thousand Ghost King body. Dark and cold black energy wildly surged out from the bodies of Liu Cheng and Hu Jiao. After which, it actually agglomerated into a black illusionary figure as their hand seals changed. That illusory figure was partially visible with countless amount of sharp sounds being vaguely emitted from it. This evil spirit, that appeared to have been agglomerated from tens of thousands of ghosts, was filled with a shocking evil aura. Roar! The black dragon also descended when that enormous black illusory figure was formed. The ground appeared to tremble at this moment. In the next instant, both of them violently collided. Boom! Numerous large cracked lines instantly spread on the ground. Every gigantic trees within 1,000 feet exploded into wooden fragments that permeated the sky. That enormous black illusionary figure lasted for a mere moment under the pressure of the black dragon, before it gradually collapsed in front of the Liu Cheng duo's shocked eyes. Their strongest defense had collapsed and the two of them were now completely exposed to their incomparably wild and violent black dragon. Following which, that frightening force came pouring down. The golden light that flickered over the bodies of the two of them instantly turned dim when that black dragon rolled heavily over their bodies. Immediately, their bodies were crushed into powder at this moment. This was a totally overwhelming blow. While Liu Cheng's group was being crushed by this black dragon, on the other battlefield, little Martin's hand was covered by a purple-black glow, as it ruthlessly slammed against the body of the Death Spirit General, who had been choosing to dodge repeatedly. Bang! An incomparably powerful energy gushed out from little Martin's hands. Nearly half of the body of that Deal Soul warrior was forcefully crushed at this moment. His body was also tossed high up before violently landing onto the ground. Little Martin's eyes were indifferent as he looked at the Death Spirit General, whose aura had become a weary one after suffering a heavy blow. He slowly said, "Looks like the intel that you have gathered on us before attacking is simply too shabby. Unfortunately, all of you won't have a second chance. This video will end here.